We're about to be live. Hold on. Dang. Why you do it? I'm fixing them up. Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Yo, let me tell you real quick, right? So yesterday, we had Chanel Remy in the city, in the building, and Remy was in here talking all types of truth to power with us, and I loved it. And she was like, you should come on my show. And I was like, yes. I'm coming. I'm going to be there. Oh, gosh. 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. We were here until 2 a.m. Tayla is tired, okay? And then today is Veterans Day. Baby Rain want to wake up at 7 a.m. People want to cut down trees at 7 a.m. I'm like, yo, can I please just get some rest? Nope, not today. There's no rest for the hustlers. Today is the day that the Lord hath made. Today's interviews are going to be so dope, so informational, and inspirational as well. And so I would like to introduce to you an amazing man. I follow him on social media. He speaks truth to power in a way that Steve Wilson would love. Haki Shakur is a historian, a researcher, a new African revolutionary nationalist, and he believes the struggle for land and self-determination is real. And I bet you if I ask him, he'll tell us that the Kwanzaa principles aren't only during Christmas time, but every single day. Good rising, Haki. How are you?
Grand rising. I'm doing pretty good.
So for those who do not know, please tell me, like, are you one of them, one of them Muslim brothers, one of those 5%ers, one of the Israelites? You just be like, Christopher Columbus didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Are you one of them?
Nah, to be honest, a lot of my elders are. But far as me, on that personal journey, spiritually and things of that nature, I reconnect back to my ancestry, which is Igbo land and the Igbo people. So I practice indigenous African traditions when it comes to spirit.
Where's Shango at?
That's Yoruba land.
So we about to learn some stuff today.
Yeah, that's different. That's the other tribe.
Okay, so let's go down this rabbit hole. So we do know that Christianity wasn't the end-all be-all for our people. What is the actual religion of Africans? As a historian, Africans today, a lot of them are Christians, but they are Christians because of colonization. Prior to colonization, what was the actual language of spirituality, religion of Africans?
Well, to be honest, I would say it really didn't have a name. So, but in modern terms, if you want to give it a name, I would just call it indigenous and spiritual science, which is dealing with nature, dealing with rituals like paying homage to the ancestors, nature, spirits, and things of that nature. But some people will call it voodoo. But it went by many names. It went by names that are indigenous to these thousands of tribals of people in Africa. So many of them have their own names. So it'll be too many names to name because all of them got different names for like their creator deities, their nature deities. They're just one supreme creator being. That's the one thing that people get twisted. That all these tribes, in origin, they all praise one supreme creator, but they got many manifestations of that supreme creator, which is the nature, spirits. And the most important is just paying homage to our ancestors.
And what does that look like? So for many of the people that, you just said voodoo. That's enough for me. Like, I'm turned off. I'm not watching no more. Why are we as Black people so turned off to our original spirituality, but cling on to this idea of Catholicism?
Because it goes back to what you just said. It's the colonization. People who invaded our motherland and colonized our people had to use the most important strategy of them all, which is enslaving the mind, colonizing the mind. So throughout history, they know what our people were practicing was righteous. They just flipped it on the other side of the coin so they could control them and enslave them to take their minerals, resources, land, and most important, to take their mind. Because you can't capture a people without capturing their mind first. So the first thing they had to attack was their spiritual system, their culture. So if they could flip it and make it seem like what they were doing wasn't righteous, it was evil, it wasn't prosperous, then they know they can make them do whatever they wanted to do. And that's what they did. They just took the sciences, the spirituality, the culture, the traditions, flipped it, and they created their own thing out of it and said it was righteous on how they put it out to the world, but then told our ancestors what you believe in wasn't right. That's what they did. It was just a trick.
So, all right, let's play devil's advocate here. Right. So Ethiopians, you're a historian, right? I know a little bit. Yes. So Ethiopians believe in Jesus. Jesus looked black in Ethiopia, but they believe in Jesus. And there's like Orthodox Christians in Ethiopia that are Jesus believers, that our first religion have never been colonized. How do you explain that? Like, how do you rectify the fact that blacks, Africans, did have a spirituality, but the only country in Africa that was not colonized still believe in Jesus and heavy on the Jesus?
Yes, they are. This the thing. When it comes to Ethiopia and their connection to Christianity, people only see that time and period that they actually embraced that Christianity. But if you go further back of the Ethiopian history, you know their history starts with Kush. Their ancient empire was Kush. Now, if you go back to Kush, they wasn't practicing nothing like Christianity. It was more of an indigenous spirituality. So I'm gonna tell you what happened. When those Kushites migrated into ancient Egypt land, people got to understand, Christianity does have an African origin. But what those Africans were practicing wasn't the Christianity we see today. And those figures that's in the book wasn't those figures. They were Africans, and they had African indigenous names. So in Egypt...
Hold on, where that Bible at, though? Was that Bible canonized?
I would say
it's in the Vatican underneath the ground, huh? That's what
they say. That's what they say. That lost material, the original copy and things of that nature, they say is under the Vatican. But even if you go back to Egypt, you will find old scripts and old papyrus and things of that nature that will show you the origins of where these Europeans created Christianity from. So in Egypt, these Kushites, they had a system that's similar to Christianity, but it was more of what our ancestors were practicing indigenously. So when it got back down to Ethiopia, you got so many various tribes in Ethiopia that split up from that original Kushite empire, that some of them grasped on to that Christianity, and they started to develop it and push it to the point where this is where the Europeans stole it from. So you do have a segment of Ethiopians that just totally embraced that, and they just took on this Christianity. But I want to just say this. Even the Ethiopians that it took that Christianity, it still wasn't called Jesus. Like these figures wasn't called what you see today. Yeah, Yahshua. Yeah, they had indigenous names. It's just over time, these Ethiopians, to me, in my opinion, from my research, they just started embracing more of a Western Christianity than the original as time evolved. That's the only thing I don't like about the Ethiopian Christianity, the Orthodox Christianity, because they started to take on more of the colonization version instead of sticking to the original.
That's crazy because they themselves were never colonized.
Exactly. But you got to understand this, though. Italy and Mussolini, when they tried to conquer Ethiopia, some of that did penetrate into Ethiopia. And when they say they wasn't totally colonized, that means the land wasn't totally conquered. But parts of it was captured by Mussolini in Italy. And they kind of like sprinkled them with a little bit of colonization. They didn't totally colonize it. They sprinkled.
So they didn't take over.
No, they didn't take over.
They had influence.
They had influence. Exactly. So that's why I think when you look at the Ethiopian culture and their religion of the Orthodox Christianity, that's why I think it mimics the Europeans' version.
So just a little background. Right. There's currently no school where you can learn, African history.
Right.
In its totality, in the way that we need. Right now you have curriculums that are like, let me sprinkle this little African knowledge here. We'll learn a little Martin Luther King and civil rights there. But for the most part, there is no university where you can learn African history.
Right.
How does someone like you become a researcher, and where do you can't get no doctorate in African studies because there's no institution to give it to you. So where do you learn? How do you, what is your process of learning, and how do you go down those rabbit holes? Because you are obviously self-taught. How does one engage or begin that journey? Right.
I would just say this. The best advice is to find elders that are predicated on telling our true story in history. Because this is where I got it from. I got it from my elders from the New African Independence Movement, who are, let me just put it for the record, a lot of my elders do have doctorates in African history at white universities, but most of them got doctorates at HBCU. So what they did was infiltrate and just built off the HBCU, because that's the closest you're going to get to black colleges, African colleges, and things of that nature. But they took the approach of, when I get these jobs at these universities and I get these doctorates, when I take it back to my community, I'm going to implement our story correctly. That's the number one thing that I learned from my elders. So the number one process of that is self-taught, to teach yourself. So you have to go outside of these universities, these public schools, the white scholar, and all these people who have suppressed our history, repressed our history, kept it from us. So that was my number one strategy, is that I know I can't go off of what they put out. So I have to now go behind them and correct the lies and find this information for myself. So I just started going to libraries, universities, colleges, and just going to my elders, and they passing me down the research, the information, and what to look for. And I just gradually built up a personal library of the stuff I went to go find on my own at these research centers, these history centers, and things of that nature, and brought it back home and compiled it and stacked it and started teaching from it. And also, I started going to historic sites, like slave sites where our ancestors were at, so I can find the original blueprint and the information that's been kept from us, compile it, bring it back home, and just created my own personal library and research center on my own. I don't need their documents. I don't need their degrees and things of that nature, because I am my own teacher. I'm my own political scientist, my own historian, and things of that nature. Because we also got to understand, we must teach this history to our people ourselves. We can't depend on them.
Okay. So, two things. First thing is this information easily accessible? Were you able to access these documents, these books, these whatever you're researching? Are they easily accessible, or did you have difficulty getting access to them?
I would say in the beginning, yes, because you got to understand, I didn't have the technology that we have today. The technology plays an important role today for people that are trying to find this history, find this research, and things of this nature. I didn't have the cell phones, the smartphones, and all these type of things at first, like in the early 2000s through the mid 2000s. But I will say this, as the technology advanced, my research got easier. But at first, it was hard. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I had to actually go to these places and dig deep into these archives and things of that nature to find all this stuff. And then you meet resistance by these people at these facilities, because they're racist to a certain degree, that they don't want you to even find this information. So I met resistance, all those type of things, when I first started going to like the Library of Virginia, the Black History Museum, and all these type of places.
That just opened, correct?
Yeah, that's just open. Yeah, that's just open. Even the one here in Virginia where I'm at is basically new. So I didn't have all these institutions and these places to find this stuff. I had to do the dirty work to try to compile all this stuff that I know today and to teach myself. But I would say this, for the people who are trying to find it today, it's much more easier for you, because you got the smartphone, you got the technology, and all this information been compiled over the last 10 years is now accessible.
What is today is Veterans Day, but today is also, that's where you come in and tell us.
It's Nat Turner's execution day, and Nat Turner, the great revolutionary leader of the Black Liberation Army of 1831, was captured like November 5th, 1831. And today was the day that he was executed. He was lynched. His body was mutilated, head chopped off, and things of that nature. So today is a great day of sacrifice for people of the Black liberation struggle, the Black liberation movement, the new African independence movement, and people that just revere our heroes and sheroes who took the ultimate sacrifice for our liberation. And that would be Nat Turner, of the Nat Turner Rebellion. So yes, I definitely want to give all praises due to Nat Turner's spirit. And I just want people to continue to research his story, research his history. Come to Virginia. Come visit the Nat Turner Trail, the historic trail. I'm telling you, you're going to get the most beautifulest spiritual energy ever.
Tell us some history that we don't know. That's what I would like. I'd like to sit here and learn about something, like just random facts that we are unaware of.
I would just say, to be honest, I would say the most unknown history, to be honest with you, I would tell people to try to research history, like dealing with like our ancestors who resisted. I think that's the most untold story of our story. And this is where I come in truly. That's what I've been doing the last 10 years, is trying to put out the history inside of our history that our people don't know. And to be honest, the most suppressed history of all our history is the simple fact that we fought back. That we wasn't just, people here just getting our tails beat, or just being told what to do, just, being docile human beings. We were just being brutalized and dehumanized by white people. No, I want our people to realize, no, you had ancestors that totally, for 365 days out the year, they fought these people back. They didn't just take their enslavement. They actually were trying to get back home. They were trying to get back to Africa. So some of the most precious history that I would say that people don't know about, and I want you to know about, is our history as Maroons. The Maroon history. The ancestors who actually took self-determination and self-reliance to its highest development in that period of time and actually started that. They actually started independent settlements. They actually started their own communities. They actually started their own independent nations and things of that nature on this land. That's some of the most suppressed history that a lot of our people walking around don't even realize our ancestors actually lived amongst themselves. They didn't live.
Haki,
they didn't live.
Yo, run us down that list. Give us who we need to start looking up so we can get some a baseline. Who, aside from Nat Turner, because Nat Turner's really the only one that we know. I do know of the gentleman who was stealing ships and sending people back home. Yeah. I can't remember his name, but that was again, that was not school education. That was my own research. So you're absolutely right as far as those that did fight back and those that, what is a Maroon? Forgive my ignorance.
A Maroon is basically an individual, a woman and a man that totally where the term comes from a Jamaican term called it's called something, I can't really think of the word, but it's a word that predates the Maroon word. It's called Cinnamoroon. That's the word, Cinnamoroon. It's a Jamaican word, and what that basically means just means wild. Period. That's just what it means, wild. So basically, Maroon means wild people, but not saying wild in a dehumanization way. It's just saying wild people that totally doesn't live by the white man laws, or they don't live by the white way of life. They're just individuals.
We ain't control, so I'm a Maroon.
Yes, we're not control. We just not control.
Okay.
That's what it means. And these individuals just basically people who just lived amongst their own. That's all it basically means. And some of those individuals historically that people can research is people like Gabriel Prosser, Denmark Vesey, Charles Dessalines, Francisco Menendez. The most important of them all, study the Gula Geechee people. And the Gula Geechee people are the people that are strictly just Africans, African descendants
in
South Carolina. Yes, South Carolina all the way to Florida. So if you can get into the Gula Geechee history, then you'll start to see all these individuals that's not being taught in the schools. Their names just start popping up. You'll see names you've never even seen before. You'll be like, who is this guy? Or who is this woman? And then it'll just take you deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. The Gula Geechee people.
So it's not Gullah, it's Gula?
It's Gula. But you can't, but you can't say Gullah. Because because you got to understand, the language that these Gula Geechee people were speaking, it's a language that's kind of founded on Ebonics. So this is not our original language anyway. English is not our original language. So all these different various Africans that that were brought here and were bunched together, and they started to procreate with each other, and they started to evolve as a new African people. That's why we say new African people, because they took all these tribes of people and bunched them together, and they started to create a new people. So their languages and things of that nature started to merge together with the English language, which is what they call Creole. If you merge the English language with other various language, you get this Creole type of language. Like the New Orleans, they speak a Creolian type of accent. So the Gula Geechee people are the same. They speak a language that's bunched up of a lot of other African language and indigenous language. And this what you get is the Gula Geechee language. But some people pronounce it Gullah. Some people pronounce it Gula. But the proper pronunciation is Gula.
So they came out with Gullah Gullah Island. You remember that?
Yes.
B&B and Pollywog?
Yes. Like I said, some people do pronounce it Gullah. So if you say Gullah, you're not really saying it wrong. It's just you're saying it in another way. But it's called Gula. But you can say Gullah.
Okay, who else we need to research? Who else fought back? Who else was chopping off heads? Yo, really quickly, I want to take a second and say, so we had a firefighter here in Boston who had a picture of Nat Turner holding a white head. And he was fired from the fire station because of that photo on his social media. Wow. And so I just want to pay homage. And that's a sacrifice.
That's a sacrifice.
Stand by your belief and lose. Like, and he was a veteran firefighter for decades and lost his job and is in court right now. And so if we can go ahead and send, give him his back pay and give him his job back, because who he reveres at, if you think one of these Confederate flag waving guys is going to get fired from their job for believing in one of the colonels or one of the KKKs, like, it's not going to happen. But the fact that you are honoring Nat Turner, you got to go. So please send vibes to him so he can go ahead and win this court case. But who else? Who else do we need to learn about? Who else do we need to be mindful of? What else do we need to be mindful? You have years and years of research. Please share with us how we fall down this rabbit hole to get to an overstanding of ourselves that we truly need to get to.
Yes, I would definitely say, like, I definitely got to plug our women freedom fighters. There's various women freedom fighters from the antebellum slavery periods of times, and I'll just throw a couple of names. I mean, the most popular name of them all, of course, is Harriet Tubman. She's the most revered women freedom fighter of them all. But you got individuals like Ann Woods. She was a woman freedom fighter here in Virginia that also led like a mini semi-rebellion against the slave catchers here in Virginia. Matter of fact, on Christmas Day, many people don't even know about that story of Ann Woods and some young individuals that were escaping slavery, and they actually fought back against the slave masters. So I would say to try to that's the story that I'm trying to work on now. I really want the unknown women freedom fighters of North America, because it's a lot of them. Because you got to understand, these freedom fighters like Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, Denmark Vesey, all these great freedom fighters that fought back against slavery, the most important individuals of their movements were women. It was their wives. It was the mother of their children that helped them initiate these slave rebellions, like Gabriel Prosser's wife, Nanny. She's an individual that you can research that played an important role in Gabriel Prosser's slave rebellion. So I would just tell I can't think of many of the women freedom fighter names at this moment, but there are a list of women that also, fought back and helped us, get to where we are today with their sacrifices. So I definitely want to give praises to our women freedom fighters that actually initiated a lot of these slave rebellions. And I would just say, particularly, man, just start to go back. That would be the most important thing that I would tell Black people in America, man. Just go down the rabbit hole and find the history that's opposite, but not too opposite of the history that you are being taught in school. Take that information, but go deeper into the rabbit hole. Like, this can't be the total story. It has to be another side of the struggle. Try to go to that area, because it's a lot of information out here. It's a lot of social media pages. I definitely want to salute all the social media pages that post Black history all day, 365, every day on Instagram, Facebook.
Say their names.
I can't,
including yours.
I can't really think of too many of them, but I will say that mine is Haki Kweli _Kweli _Shakur. You can follow me on there. I mean, it's just too many of them. I can't really think of them off the top, but just go on social media and try to find like the black empowerment pages. It's people who teach this every day. It's their life.
So I just want to let you know that I looked up Ann Woods, and there's nothing. She's a white woman.
Yes. This is the thing. If you put her name in the search engine, it's definitely not going to pop up. So you're going to have to put in stuff like, this is what I'm trying to create on my website, which is New African 77.wordpress.com. If y'all want to go to a website and look up the history that's not popping straight up on Google, this is why I created New African 77.wordpress.com, to put people's story like Ann Woods on my website, so you can, like, when you're researching my website, her stuff will pop straight up. See, it's not really too much history to find on her, because they're still trying to, how can I put it? They're still trying to find more history on us. And then we got to understand, a lot of these individuals' history got destroyed. Their documents got destroyed by the slave masters. Their history got erased by the slave masters. So you might not even, it's so sad. You probably only find like a couple of lines about their story, because a lot of their birth certificates, a lot of this stuff has been burnt up, destroyed, and things of that nature. So if you are looking for individuals like Ann Woods, don't expect to find too much information, but you can go to my website to find a little bit more to these people's stories.
And I just posted that again. It's New Afrikan with a K.
Yes.
77.wordpress.com.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that was, I just posted that right now. Explain to us why Africa is spelled with a K and not with a C.
Oh, yeah, right. We have to understand as African people that when the Europeans came with the Latin alphabets and things of that nature, when they created the Latin language, people got to understand English comes from the Latin language, but the Latin language comes from the African languages, the indigenous languages of like those empires, like Kushite Empire, Kemet Empire, and all these South African empires, Zimbabwe, Mozambique empires, and things. Our people got to understand, because these are the people that we want to reach first and foremost is our people. We had our own languages at first. Our original language is not English. It's not Latin. We have indigenous African languages. So in ancient times, the ancient African, our story, we didn't have an alphabet called C. The alphabet that we used was a K. So all these indigenous names of the continent that precede the word Africa were spelled with K's. The K is the indigenous sound for the C sound. So this is what we're trying to do. Like even in the Swahili language, Ka Swahili and things of this nature, they use K's. So we decided in the Black Liberation Movement, my elders and everybody that's scholars of African Afro history, they chose to look here, if we're going to return to ourselves and we're going to liberate ourselves from colonialism, we have to start going back to what our people were pronouncing, how they pronounce it, how they say it, how they write it. This is the foundation on revolutionizing our mentality, liberating our minds from the colonization mind, is returning back, Sankofa, back to our indigenous practice, ways, cultures, education. So the first thing we did was look here, we know that Africa was spelled with a K, period. So that was our foundation. Take the C out, replace it with the K, and let's go down this deep rabbit hole of our languages.
What other rabbit holes regarding language do we have to be mindful of?
I would just say the rabbit hole is First of all, let me just say this to make it more clarified on that. Black people living in the Western Hemisphere, in the African diaspora, the rabbit hole that you need to go down when it comes to languages and things of that nature is West Africa. West Central Africa. That's the pinpoint. This is where the majority of our ancestors come from. West Coast Africa, Central Africa. So if you want to go back and find yourselves, if you want to go back and find your history, now I'm not telling you not to go back to Kemet or Kushites or the ancient empires of Africa. I'm not telling you not to do that. But I'm saying if you want to be more connected to the languages, the cultures, the spirituality of your blood ancestor, because the most important thing is to go back to your blood ancestor history so you can be more in tune to who you are and find out who you are. Go to West Africa. Search West Africa. These are your ancestors. The Igbo people, Yoruba people, Iwe people, the Hausa people, Fulani, Wolof, all these tribes that come off the west coast of Africa and Central Africa is where you need to start your research at. Period. Whether it's language, culture, spirituality, identity, which is the most important part of it all, is researching your identity.
So I'm confused though, because you said West Africa, but we know like civilization in history, civilization began in like Kush, Ethiopia, Egypt, but you're telling us we need to look further west and start there.
Yeah, but this is something you got to understand about that history. And this is no knock to the great Babas, the great scholars, the great Afro researchers and scholars and teachers of our time, like Dr. Ben, all these great Babas. This is no knock on what they did, because they laid the path, they laid the foundation. But the thing we have to understand as people in this time, in this era in time, is that they started the foundation of the African history and what you needed to go back and research. And yes, they did say that civilization started in Kemet, Kush, and these things of that nature. But as time passes, you have to understand more information is coming out. More history is coming out on our origins. Our origins don't stop with what Dr. Ben and all these great scholars have found and researched over time and saying that civilization started in Kemet, Kush, and these things. No, you got to understand, there's history that has been suppressed that shows that our story started in South Africa. This is things people don't even know, because if you research a lot of the ancient Egypt pharaohs, kings, families, dynasties, guess what? Their ancestry goes back to like Mozambique, Zimbabwe, South Africa. So my thing is this, is that, yes, we know that the more civilized civilization started in like Kushite, Kemet, because we know these human beings had to evolve over time. But you got to go back to the time that predates us evolving into Kushites, to evolving into Kemites. There were people already in Africa before those civilizations came into existence, because human origin started in Central Africa, in South Africa. The original human on this earth is a black woman. That black woman comes from South Central Africa, not Kemet, not Egypt. You see what I'm saying? So you have to go back further. It didn't just start with Kushites and Kemet.
So what's her name? Susie, Annie. What's the girl's name that they found? And they brought her bones.
Yes.
Lucy. And she the first. But Lucy was from Ethiopia, though. She wasn't from Central
But see, that's the
Africa.
thing. Lucy ain't the first. This is why I'm saying you got to do the research. Lucy is not the first.
But in Ethiopia, they claim that Lucy was the first, and these are her remains. Like, I'm standing next to Lucy in a photo, and Ethiopians claim that like she's in their history, their museums.
Yes. But this is what you got to understand. Ethiopians and Kushites claim that. They claim that because Lucy is central to their history. They're not really incorporating the history that predates that. And the history that predates that is centers in Central Africa. There's a woman bones that's older than Lucy that they found in Central Africa, which is called Eve. The matriarchal Eve. Research that. Write that down. It's an individual called the matrilineal Eve that predates Lucy bones. So it's over the last couple of years, matter of fact, in the last decade, they have been finding more bones of human beings in South Central Africa than any place in Africa. But it just doesn't get put in the news because they have popularized Lucy so much that they don't even talk about the stuff that they still finding in Central Africa. Every day in Africa, they are finding new bones that are older than Lucy, but it's just not glorified in the media. It's not put in the media. But we do know for a fact.
Because then it looked like we lying about history.
Exactly.
It looked like we don't know what we talking about. We've been claiming Lucy for so long. Hold on, there's a new Lucy?
Yes.
So y'all don't look too credible right now.
Yes.
So what about all of this? So we've been recently having conversations, and Reggie B is trying to invite us to an all-black like research groups. So like black people sitting around doing what we're doing right now.
Right.
And so what about the premise that blacks were here in America first, and many of like civilizations started in America? When you look at any of the Egyptian gods or goddesses that have animal heads, all of the animal heads are indigenous to America. When you take a look at, basically America is where life started, is the premise. What is the history and the truth about that?
Well, from my years of research and just sitting at the table with the elders and sitting around, just tapping into the brains of older researchers and things of that nature. And just like I said, doing my own personal research, I would just say this so people can stop. Because really, to be honest, that whole conversation is kind of like a standstill distraction from the totality of our story. Because no matter how you look at it, we know for a fact that civilization and humanity started in Africa. Whether the continents were attached or at some point, which we do know that continents were attached at some point, but you got to use your common sense. If the continents were attached at one point in time, when those continents broke up, I really don't believe that humanity could have sustained when some kind of type of chaotic event happened like that. Just imagine, like right now today, where you at, where I'm at, and this land just started breaking apart, it's going to be a lot of death with that type of, cataclysmic event taking place. So you got a lot of individuals who try to say we were on the continents when the continents dispersed apart. I don't believe that part, because I don't think too much of humanity would have survived through that type of episode and event. But I will say this: we are the original navigators of the seas. That's facts. These original navigators come from where, though? Africa. The first ships were found where? Africa. You see what I'm saying? So when I start hearing individuals saying that civilization started in America, civilization, the original black man and the black woman comes from America, that don't make sense when you start using your common sense, because now you got to do the research on, like, hold on, is certain things in ancient history that don't line up with the Americas. Like I just said, ships. Show me American ships that predate African ships, because we know the first ship was built in Africa. So it's impossible for you to be here first, but you don't have no evidence of a ship that's ancient that y'all built on American land. So it's just small things that you got to pay attention to. That's why I always try to tell my younger generation of people, please use logical sense. Please use logical research. Please use your common sense. This is your God. This is your inner God. Your inner God is your senses. So when stuff don't make sense, use your logics and put these things in place and dissect it, diagnosis. Now, were we the first people to travel to America? Yes, because we were the first navigators of the seas, whether it was East Coast Africa, North Africa, or West Africa. The first man to come to the Western Hemisphere was an African king, Mansa Musa. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of these individuals, when they started coming over here, and yes, there were people that were here, you know what I'm saying, that were black. There were, but these are people that travel over here over time, because you got to understand the development of life and over time that, yes, we were navigating here. Come on, we are the first scientists. We're the first Navy. We're the first explorers. We're the first everything. So, yes, we did travel to the Western Hemisphere. So that's why everything you see over here, like the ancient Egypt, like heads or writings on the wall, these things came from Africans who navigated here. You see what I'm saying? But where did they come from? They came from Africa.
Two questions. One, can we have you back regularly?
Yes.
Okay. Two, can we have, when you come back, can we have curriculum?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely.
And so I'm not a dictator. So whatever you want to curriculum is whatever you want to teach is what you can put together.
Right.
But I would like for whatever you do on your side.
Right.
I would like for it to come on this side. So if you have host classes, I would like a mini sample of that class. And so the objective here is to unlearn everything that you learned in school first and foremost. And if you think that you need to, if you don't believe that you need to unlearn anything, there was a white man that wrote a book called Lies My Teacher Told.
Yes.
And this white man breaks down all of the lies that your teacher told you and that are still being perpetuated today in American history. And he specifically does American history. He doesn't do like world history. And so the first thing I want to do is to make sure that we unlearn everything that we've learned.
Right.
Second, what I would like for us to do is to get a knowledge of self. I think either VOG or The Truth said, like, it's all about knowledge of self and there is no, you cannot operate in the world if you don't have full knowledge of self. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you earlier was whether or not you've ever gotten your DNA tested, and if so, who did you trust to do it?
I never got a DNA test because I already knew my bloodline, and I already knew my ancestral history. My ancestral history is the Igbo people. Like that's the thing.
Who told you that though?
My family.
And so you one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, see, like everybody's not going to be able to do that though. So my thing is this is what I would tell you to do first though. The first thing you should do is compile your whole family records. This is something that I'm still doing this today. Like I ain't finished yet. Like a lot of people I'm not finished with, like tracking my ancestry and things of that nature, because I know it's more to my story than just Igbo people as well. So I'm still looking. I'm still, trying to trace my roots and things of that nature. But this is the key, brothers and sisters, is that my advice, the first thing you should do, compile all your family records. Please go to the elders of your family. If there's still elders in your family that's still alive, visit them. Don't just let your elders of your family die with this information in their minds and in their households and in their oral stories of history. Please go see your elders. Go see your great aunts, your grandmas, your grandfathers. Man, cherish them. Go to them. Get the stories from them. Ask them about the history of your family, of your story. Compile it. Get you a notebook, a scrapbook, and thing. Compile. Get family records. Go to the city records. Go to the state records. Research all your family history as much as you possibly can, and take it far back as you can get it back. I'm not telling you not to take the DNA test. Take that too, because that's going to help you out as well, because you're going to get a better, clear, picture of your ancestors.
Who we supposed to trust? I don't trust none of them.
I get it. But this is my thing. This is why I'm telling y'all to do the oral family thing first. Do the oral family thing first, because, get the land deeds, because you're going to come across all types of stuff when you're researching your family history. Get your elders' land deeds. Get their trust. I mean, try to get every record you can possibly think of a family member that's blood to you, and their story and their history, whether it's oral or the records. Try to find it all, compile it, put it together, and put your story together and track it back to wherever it tracks back. Because we know a lot of it is going to track back to Africa. A lot of it's going to track back to the indigenous nations, what people call Indians. It's a lot of that stuff is going to track back to them too, because that's in our blood too. Compile it all together and see what you get first if you don't want to take a DNA test. Because for me, my just personal research and off the oral story, I know Igbo is one of my central, ancestors. I'm an Igbo. I'm a descendant of Igbo people. So if you do want to take a DNA test, do the proper research on the DNA companies. I know a lot of people still ain't gonna do it because people just don't want to get their DNA to these people. I feel you on that. But in this modern technological era, you really don't have too much of a way other than the DNA test to find out who you are. Because unless you want to do the hard work, which I do suggest, do the hard work and do it yourself and trace it back yourself, I recommend that to the highest fullest. But if you want to get a quick outlook on what it could possibly be, hey, if you want to take that chance on taking a DNA test, take the DNA test. But if you don't want to do it, that's your human right also. But now some of these DNA companies like African Ancestry and things of that nature, I mean, I don't trust
likely
them.
owned by a white man.
Yeah, I don't trust them. I don't trust them. But if you do, I mean, some people got to take that hit. You got to take that hit if you want to find out, who you are. You might have to take that hit. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I can say about it. I can't really give you no more deeper advice than that.
What about now going back to our the people that we can give their flowers because they're living.
Right,
so what kind of questions are the questions that we should be asking?
The most important would be like who is your great grandfather? Are you aware of our history as far as pertaining to Africa? Are you aware of our history pertaining to the Indian peoples, the indigenous nations of people here in America? Can you give me some information on that? Do you know of any ancestors that you know for a fact that comes from Africa or are descendants of the Indian nations here in America? Those will be the first questions I would ask, because you first got to find out, like, who is my blood? Who is my bloodline? Like, what does my bloodline tie back to? But the most important thing you got to do first is try to find out who are your great grandparents, who are your great grandparents, and you just got to keep on flipping it back as far as you can go. But the most important questions you got to ask is like, are you aware of our African ancestry? Are you aware of our indigenous nations ancestry? That's the beginning. That's the only focal point you can start from. And if those elders that are still alive, if they are aware of that, they will give you the information to go seek yourself.
So what questions should we, just as long as we have our ancestors here, what other questions, non-African related, should we be asking them so that way we can pass down to the next generation?
You said non-African?
Not like who are we or where we come from, because a lot of them don't know.
That's true.
So a lot of them don't know. So aside from like the history itself, preserving our history and creating a history for future generations, what questions should we be asking now in order to build a strong foundation for the future in case we have no information of our past?
I probably would tell them to, ask questions of like, far as just find out who the elders, well, just go to the elders that you do still have in your family. And I would just say, build on a foundation of your family story. That'll be a great focal point to start on. Just get the history of your family blood in the most modern times and start that as the foundation. Like it don't have to necessarily go all the way back to Africa or even slavery. You see what I'm saying? You don't even have to take it back all the way to slavery if you're trying to make that foundation. Just get the foundation of your family blood story and their history from the point that they do know of, like in the more modern times. Find out who those relatives are. Find out those relatives that died recently. Find out the elders that that you have contact with, and try to build off the foundation of recent modern time history. I think that would be the most important part in questions to ask them, like the most recent history of your family. I think that would probably be the most potent question to ask those people that are living.
How long exactly have you been a researcher, a historian?
I would say close to 15 years now. Because my journey started in the mid 2000s. As far as like really making this a passion and really like dedicating my life to it and really just embracing it as my purpose in life started probably around 2005, 2004.
And what is one of the most mind-blowing things that you learned? Like, out of all of your research, this one thing that you just cannot get out of your head because like it really transformed your way of thinking.
I would have to say, that's a great question. because there's so many things that. But I would have to say,
tell us two, tell us three.
I would say the most mind blowing thing, to be honest with you, I would have to say our identity theft, the theft of our identity on who we are, and you know, that whole process of how they stole our identity and how they socially engineered us into what we are today, which is African Americans. This pseudo identity, this pseudo nationality, and just this pseudo picture of us being Americans. I would think that's the most mind blowing of them all. It's just the fact that me tracing my lineages, me tracing my ancestry, me tracing just the history of our, you know, history and beginnings here in America. I would say that's the most mind blowing on how they re-socially engineered us into what we are today, which is this African American mentality, this identity that's not truly who we are. That's not who we are. We're not African Americans. You see what I'm saying? I think that's the most mind-blowing research. And I'm speaking specifically biologically, genetically, spiritually, mentally, socially, politically. All these things are what makes a person a human, and in the global community and humans, the process of what we went through here in America to make us who we are today, I think has been the most mind-blowing of covering and pulling that sheet off of what they did to us. I think that's the most mind-blowing.
And so for those who do not know, can you please, like, what do you mean by the identity theft? Because that's a blanket statement, like identity theft. Nah, not really. Like, I know who I am. My name's Tayla Andre. Ain't nobody stole my identity.
I mean, hey, if you're on some other planet by now, and if you don't know about a thing called chattel slavery, plantation slavery, if you're on some kind of other world and you don't realize this type of history took place, or this type of dehumanization and terrorism take place, then I don't know, you know, I can't really say why you would be shocked. And when I say your identity has been stolen, your identity theft, chattel slavery, antebellum slavery. I mean, that's a focal point that you have to understand that happened. This actually happened to your people. You see what I'm saying? And I know it's a lot of people that's walking around that don't care about that type of stuff, who not even trying to research that type of stuff because they're living in the now. They only care about now. You see what I'm saying? So they would be shocked and surprised, like, what do you mean by identity theft? You know what I mean? Because you got people that really are African Americans. Like, they don't have no other type of knowledge or consciousness of who they were before they became African Americans. So some people are African Americans mentally, spiritually, culturally. So they don't have no thoughts of, what do you mean my identity was stolen? What are you talking about? No, I'm John Brown. I'm John this. I'm something. But that's my point. Is that the most blowing thing that you will find in this journey of consciousness and researching our story? You will see that the focal point in the most dehumanizing terroristic act ever taking place on our people was your identity was stolen, man. They stole who you are. Your name ain't Taylor Andre. My colonial name that I had at first wasn't my name. You see what I'm saying? That's why I changed my name. That's not my name. That's not who I am. So we got to be aware of these type of things, because there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of colonialization that comes to who you are as an African American. And it starts with that name also. That colonial settler name that you have, that American English name that you have, that's energy. Because if you go back to your identity before it was stolen, we had great names that had meanings. Like every name in your name meant something. Like my name, Haki Shakur. Haki means righteous. Kweli means truthful. Shakur means thankful to God. So your name makes a whole statement of who you are spiritually and who you are and who you will grow to be in this purpose in life. So identity theft is the most dehumanizing terroristic act in history.
So you got me looking up Tayla Andre to see what on earth my name means. How did you choose your name? So you woke up one day and you were like, I I'm not going to throw an X on the end of my name, but
Yes.
I am going to change my name, and this is what I'm going to change it to. So how did you, come to the realization that you wanted your name to be Haki Kweli Shakur?
I had help. That's what I'm saying. That's what you need to go back to your elders for. Like, if you don't have no elders, please find you some elders that come out of, not even just out of the Black liberation movement, because I've been blessed and grateful to sit at the feet of elders who come out the Black liberation struggle. And I have family from the Black liberation struggle. So a lot of people don't have that opportunity or that type of, background to help you with that if you do want to change your name or things of that nature. So I would just say that what made me change my name was my elders from the Black liberation movement. One great brother, and this is my big brother, and specifically is Haki Shakur. If y'all don't know who Haki Shakur, write that name down. Haki Shakur, he went by the former name of Monster Cody. He was a former gang member. He was a companion and a family member of Tupac Shakur. This is the brother, my brother, that took me under his wing while he was incarcerated as a political prisoner. He gave me this name. And it's crazy because this whole thing is kind of like a great story. At that point in time, I was already like kind of like under Matulu Shakur. Dr. Matulu Shakur is the stepfather of Tupac Shakur. Dr. Matulu Shakur and Haki Shakur are my family. Those are my mentors. Those are my big brothers. Those are the ones who took me under their wing. So the first thing that Haki Shakur did was like, we got to get rid of that slave name. That slave name got to go. So he can't, like the great brother he is, he went back, did research on names because he knows all these things by memory. He knows Swahili by memory. He knows African languages by memory. So he came up with the name because he felt that name was the best name that fit me. Because if you go by the meanings of the name, like I said, Haki means righteous, Kweli means truthful, Shakur means thankful to the God. But those first two names in my name is what is the energy and the spirit that he felt from me. He felt that I was a righteous human being. He felt that I was a truthful brother. So that's how he came up with the Haki Kweli part of the name. And we always got to be thankful to God. So once he gave me that name, of course, I went to Dr. Matulu Shakur because I wasn't going to take the Shakur name without getting the blessing of the Shakur tribe and the Shakur family, period, because of their sacrifice, the sacrifice that they went through in this country to bring us the truth, to try to liberate us, to try to give us equal rights, human rights, and things of that nature. This is one of the most revolutionary families in the history of our struggle in America. So before I even embraced Shakur, I had to go to the man. I had to go to Matulu and like, look here. Son, you could try to give me Shakur. Dr. Matulu gave me his blessing. Like, yes, brother, you are a Shakur. Take the name from prison. He gave me this in a letter. He wrote me a letter. Take the name, my brother. So ever since I took that name, the Shakur family has took me in. I'm now a part of the family. They took me in. They embraced me as a Shakur.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So we can have you back, and we're going to go ahead and do the logistics to have you back, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I am extremely appreciative, and this is dope.
I love it.
I love it. And I'm ready to learn.
Yes.
I'm ready to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know about y'all, but I'm going to rewatch because he said a lot of things that need to be replayed for me. So I can go ahead and write down some names. But I might be inboxing you as well. And so please send me whatever, jot a few things down, send it to me so I can at least start the journey.
Okay.
I've already started the journey, but so I can go a little further down the rabbit hole.
Right. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Haki. I appreciate you. I love you. I hope you have an amazing day today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you have a beautiful, vibrant, illuminated day. I appreciate your platform. Keep doing what you do. I follow you. I love you.
Blessings, blessings, blessings. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Please head over to his Instagram, his website. So the website is right here, newafrican77.wordpress.com. And the Instagram is Haki _ hold on, I'm going to get it. Haki Kweli _Shakur. So it's HAKI_KWELI _Shakur, like Tupac. And so I hope you have an amazing day. We definitely will have you back on to continue this conversation. For those who are just now tuning in, I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are having a conversation with Bruce Marks of NACA. We're going to talk about getting you prepared for first-time home ownership. I am Tayla Andre. You're listening to Spark FM online. Please hold. We'll be back. Mwah.